Welcome back. We will be discussing a new chapter in this series of videos, that is on human reproduction. Now, in the previous session, we have discussed about sexual reproduction in plants. Even in human beings, the mode of reproduction is sexual, meaning there are two individuals involved in the act of sexual reproduction. Not only that, human beings are viviparous animals, meaning they give birth to the young ones directly. As you know, human beings are placed in the class Mammalia. The human females, they have special organs called as Mammary Glands, which will help in child care. Now, to summarize the entire reproduction in human beings, let us discuss about the events, and this is what we will be discussing in detail in this chapter. The first event in reproduction in human beings is gametogenesis, that is the production of the gametes. In the case of human beings, male gamete is called as sperm, female gamete is called as ovum. The sperm is produced in the testis, the ovum is produced in the ovary. The production of sperm is called as spermatogenesis. Production of ovum is known as oogenesis. Ovum is non-motile, it cannot move. Therefore, the sperm is the one which is moving, traveling and reaches the ovum. As in the case of plants, the male gamete is usually the one which is motile. Once gametes are produced, these gametes need to be transferred. The transport is called as insemination. The male gamete sperm is released into the female reproductive tract in an act called as insemination. Once the sperms reach the female reproductive tract, they will swim and they will reach the female gamete, that is ovum, and they will fuse with it, called as fertilization. Once fertilization takes place, it results in the production of zygote, which is diploid. This zygote then undergoes repeated mitotic divisions to produce embryo, which in turn is converted into the fetus. This fetus has to grow and develop in an area of the female reproductive tract called as the uterus. So the embryo attaches itself to the wall of the uterus in an event called as implantation. It plants itself to the wall of uterus, and for the next 36 weeks, that is 9 months, it undergoes growth, development and differentiation. This period, the 36-week period, is known as gestation. Once 36 weeks are over, the child is then delivered outside. The delivery or childbirth is called as parturition. So, we will be discussing all these steps in detail. So, let us begin the discussion of gametogenesis. How are gametes produced? By the testis and by the ovary, for which we need to have an understanding of the structure of the male reproductive system as well as the female reproductive system. So, we will begin with the discussion about male reproductive system. Both in the case of males as well as females, the reproductive system can be broadly studied under the 4 heads. There is a primary sex organ, then there are accessory ducts, there are glands, and there is the external genitalia. All these are parts of the male and female reproductive system. Now, if you look at the diagram of the male reproductive system, it contains the primary sex organ called as testis. There is a pair of testes present outside the abdominal cavity, whereas the female reproductive organs are present inside the abdominal cavity. The primary sex organ is the testis. This testis, as you can see in the diagram, is present inside a sac-like structure called as the scrotum. The scrotum, it provides a lower temperature for the testis. The temperature is around 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius, lesser than the internal temperature. This low temperature is very much essential for the event of spermatogenesis, the production of sperms. The testis is around 4 to 5 centimeter in length and 2 to 3 centimeter in width. It is roughly oval in shape. It is covered by a outside membrane which protects the inner components. The testis has around 200 to 250 small compartments called as testicular lobules, as you can see in the diagram. Inside each of this compartment or testicular lobule, we find 1 to 3 seminiferous tubules. The inner lining of the seminiferous tubule, it contains two types of cells, as you can see in the diagram. The cells are spermatogonia and Sertoli cells. The Sertoli cells are also known as nurse cells because they are rich in nutrition and they are required for the development of spermatogonia as well as the development of spermatozoa. So they provide nutrition. Other than the Sertoli cells, there are the spermatogonial cells or the male germ cells. The spermatogonia undergoes meiosis to produce the male gamete, spermatozoa, or in short known as sperms. In between the Sertoli cells as well as the spermatogonial cells, there are blood vessels, interstitial cells. The Leydig cells or interstitial cells are responsible for the production of the male hormones, together called as androgens. These androgens are responsible for the event of spermatogenesis as well as development of sperms. The androgens' primary hormone is testosterone, which is also required for the development of secondary sexual characters at the time of puberty. That is about the structure of testis. Inside the testis, there are testicular lobules. Inside the testicular lobules, there are seminiferous tubules. The seminiferous tubules contain spermatogonia and Sertoli cells. Spermatogonia produce sperms. These sperms need to be transported from the testis, which is done with the help of accessory ducts. Ducts, as you know, are closed tube-like structures. In human beings, the accessory ducts consists of the retitestis, as you can see in the diagram, the retitestis, it transports the sperms from the testis into a structure called as the vasa efferentia. The vasa efferentia then leads into the next structure called as epididymis, which is seen on the posterior region or the top part of the testis. From the epididymis arises a tube-like structure called as vas deferens. All these come under accessory ducts. Their main function is to transport the sperm from the testis into the external opening. They also act as storage organs temporarily. The vas deferens continues as a tube. It moves upside in the abdomen and near the urinary bladder, as you can see in the diagram, it takes a U-turn and it comes down. As it travels down, it is joined by the accessory glands. The accessory glands are a pair of seminal vesicles, a single prostate gland and a small pair of bulbourethral glands. Together they secrete fluid called as seminal plasma. The sperms, they are present in the seminal plasma. The seminal plasma is rich in nutrition. It contains sugars such as fructose and glucose, which is required for the activity of the sperm. Not only that, it contains calcium and certain other enzymes. The secretions of the bulbourethral gland also helps in the lubrication of the penis during the act of sexual intercourse. So in total, the accessory glands, they produce secretions required for the transport, nutrition and lubrication. So there is a pair of seminal vesicle. As you can see in the diagram, the seminal vesicle, it produces a small duct-like structure called as the ejaculatory duct. The sperms along with the seminal plasma are stored in the ejaculatory duct. The ejaculatory duct then continues as the urethra. The urethra is a common opening both for urine as well as for sperms. This urethra at the end has an opening called as the urethral meatus. The urethra is covered by the external genitalia, that is the penis. The penis is a muscular structure made up of special erectile tissue which help in the act of insemination. The end of the penis has a bulged swollen portion called as the glans penis, which is covered by a foreskin which consists of the external genitalia. Their main function is insemination. During the act of sexual intercourse, the penis delivers the sperms into the female reproductive tract. That is all about the male reproductive system. The primary organs are testes. They produce the spermatozoa or sperms which are transported by the accessory ducts. They receive secretions from the accessory glands and they are discharged by the penis. The female reproductive system, it also consists of primary sex organ, accessory ducts and external genitalia. The female reproductive system is responsible for production of the gamete. It is where fertilization takes place and it is also involved in gestation as well as childbirth. So it carries out major functions in the event of reproduction. In females, the primary sex organ consists of a pair of ovaries which is present one each on the lower side of the abdomen. So one ovary is present on the left and right side of the abdomen near the pelvic region and it is present inside the abdominal cavity. The ovary is connected to the pelvic wall as well as to the uterus with the help of ligaments, as you can see in the diagram. The ovary is oval in shape. It is roughly 2 to 4 centimeter in length. It is covered by a thin epithelium for protection. Inside the epithelium, we find the ovarian stroma. The ovarian stroma is further divided into a outer peripheral cortex and an inner medulla. The ovaries are responsible for production of the female gamete ovum with the help of oogenesis. They also produce certain steroidal hormones such as estrogens, which are required for the development of secondary sexual characters and also in the production of ovum. Every month, one of the ovary produces a single ovum which is released in a process called as ovulation. This released ovum is held by the oviduct, which is part of the accessory ducts. In females, the accessory ducts is made up of a tube-like structure called as oviduct or fallopian tube. Uterus and vagina. These three together make up the accessory ducts. They are responsible for storing or holding the ovum. The oviduct, as you can see in the diagram, it starts from the periphery of each ovary. Near the ovary, you can see a funnel-like structure called as the infundibulum. At the end of infundibulum, we find finger-like structures called as fimbriae, which are responsible for holding the egg which is released due to ovulation. The funnel-like infundibulum then opens into a wider region called as the ampulla. The ampulla then narrows down into a isthmus. It is in this ampullary isthmic junction the ovum undergoes fertilization. So the fallopian tube not only holds the female gamete but it is also the site of fertilization. The fallopian tube is roughly 10 to 12 centimeter in length from both the sides. These then continue and join into the uterus. Uterus is single. It is also known as the womb. The shape of the uterus resembles a inverted pear. So it's inverted pear. The uterus contains three layers. The outermost layer is called as perimetrium, which is made up of a thin membrane. The middle layer is called as myometrium. It is thick and it is made up of smooth muscles. The myometrium is responsible for vigorous contractions of the uterus during childbirth. The innermost layer of the uterus is called as endometrium. It is thin and it is glandular. The endometrium layer is where the blastula, that is the fertilized ovum, comes and implants itself. So implantation and gestation takes place in the endometrium layer. The endometrium layer is also involved in cyclical changes during the menstrual cycle, which we will study later. The uterus is connected to the pelvic wall with the help of ligaments. Inside the uterus we find the uterine cavity. This uterine cavity will then continue down and it will lead into the cervix. The lumen of the cervix or the cavity is called as cervical canal. The cervical canal then leads into the vagina. The cervical canal and the vagina together form the birth canal. This is the canal or the place through which the childbirth takes place. That is the accessory ducts. The external genitalia in females consists of the mons pubis. The mons pubis then continues as folds of tissues. A pair of folds are present called as the labia majora. Inside the labia majora we find two more folds called as the labia minora, which cover the opening of the vagina. Near the junction, the upper junction of the labia minora, we find a finger-like structure called as clitoris. Often the opening of the vagina is covered by a thin membrane called as the hymen, which consists of the external genitalia. The females are also provided with a pair of mammary glands, which are also involved in child care. The mammary glands, also called as breasts, are two in number. Their development starts at the time of adolescence. The breast is nothing but glandular tissue and variable amounts of tissues of fat. The glandular tissue is divided into 15 to 20 mammary lobes. Inside the mammary lobes there are clusters of cells called as alveoli. These alveoli secrete milk which is stored in the cavity of the alveoli. Each alveoli has an opening which will lead into the mammary tubules. The mammary tubules then open into the mammary duct. The mammary ducts then open into a region called as the ampulla. From the mammalian ampulla, it leads into a lactiferous duct through which milk is produced. Near the ampulla region, we also find a dark pigmentation of the skin called as areolar region. That is about the female reproductive system consisting of ovaries which produce the ovum, which are transported by the oviduct, uterus and vagina. Uterus is also the region where development of the child takes place, and these are protected by the external genitalia. Let us now look at the process of gametogenesis. How are sperms produced inside the testis? how does the ovary produce the ovum?